You're going to smell them long before you see them. Skunks are usually more active at night, which is when they can kind of hide from people. These stinky animals live right in our neighborhoods, so let's find out how we can coexist with them. With me, Barbara Ray. Skunks would typically live in a woodland area and forage for grubs and worms and insects in fields and forest edge. But as we've developed more housing developments and neighborhoods, they've adapted completely to living around people. And they take advantage of our homes and our sheds or underneath decks and porches and along the ravines and creeks to live. Skunks will actually have their courtship and mating period in the winter, and then they have delayed implantation so that they can give birth in the spring and early summer. The kits will come out with their mother beginning in July, so that's when we'll see a lot of daytime activity, as they may come out and forage in the daytime with or without their mother. So you might be lucky enough to see 4 or 5 little baby skunks in a line, and of course they'll have their tails up, being very ferocious looking. Some people want to know if the skunks are going to eat plants or affect their pets. And of course, skunks might eat some berries or fruit that have fallen to the ground. So one of the ways to avoid having extra skunk traffic is to be sure and pick up any food scraps or even berries and apples if you have an apple tree, something like that. They really don't interact much with pets unless they're frightened, of course. They might try to spray. About the only times a skunk will actually spray is if they are scared or frightened or startled. So obviously a dog barking at them is going to incite a defensive spray. And they can spray about 12 or 15 feet, so definitely keep pets on leash if you know that a skunk is around. They also will spray if they're startled. So sometimes they spray because they just got scared. We stepped around the corner and the skunk wasn't expecting us. One of the best ways to prevent our pets from being sprayed is to flick lights on and off 4 or 5 times before you let your pet outside. If you know you have routine skunk activity, you might want to go outside with your pet on a lead. And one of the best preventions is to not put your landscaping right up against the house, because then skunks like to travel hugging the building, which means they're going to be very close to potentially a pet or near your porch. Of course, sometimes a pet does get sprayed. Hopefully people don't get sprayed, but that could happen too. And the best thing to do is to purchase a commercial deskunker like Skunk Off is very effective. The problem with our pets is that they have fur, and so it's very hard to get the smell completely out. So one thing you can do is you can rinse the pet with some kind of citrus mouthwash, and then after you rinse them with that, you wash that out with water. Sometimes pets are going to get sprayed in the face where it's very difficult to wash. So you can use some mint or toothpaste and put it right on their fur around their eyes and nose like a poultice. And that will dry off and flake off, and it will take the thiol oil smell with it. Sometimes residents would like to know who to call if they see a skunk, and generally seeing a skunk is not a problem. They really mind their own business for the most part. However, some skunks could get sick with a virus called distemper that affects skunks, raccoons, and can affect fox and coyote as well. If you see a sick skunk, definitely call myself or the Wildlife Center, as we will come and get those animals from the neighborhoods. Distemper is not contagious to people, and dogs are only affected if they're not vaccinated. So keep your pets up to date on vaccines, and there's no risk from a distemper skunk. The distemper skunk will look kind of staggering around, it will look listless, it may even be laying down and not able to move. And that's because the virus affects their muscles and also causes blindness. So if you see an animal acting that way, definitely give us a call. Whose scat is that? If you see skunk scat, you'll know, because it's usually very dark in color and it might be full of berry seeds, it may have pieces of nuts in it, or some of the other exoskeletons of the bugs they've been eating. So it's a very dry looking scat compared to a lot of the other animals. A few other things to know about skunks is if you have open window wells, The skunks, like I said, like to travel along building edges. They certainly could fall in there. So you may want to invest in some window well covers, which also will prevent other wildlife from falling in there. Just as a reminder as well, in order to prevent extra skunk traffic as well as other wildlife in your yard, don't forget about the no feed ordinance in the city of Dublin. This ordinance is not meant to prevent anyone from feeding their birds. However, you do want to keep seed cleaned up because skunks love bird seed, and you'll have a little bit of extra skunk traffic if you have bird feeders in your yard.